Hello and welcome to Our Own. I'm Allison Kinnear, and this is Living and Learning. This is what happens every Wednesday at 3 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. I hop onto Facebook Live and give a little talk about living and learning. Today, we are going to talk about 3 tips to stay out of resentment during the holidays. Now, first of all, I just want to address when I say the holidays, I'm kind of meaning Christmas, but I really mean this for anyone during any time of year when things get overwhelming. In my family, we celebrate Christmas, and I know in my community, it's the predominant holiday that is celebrated. And I just want to say, between November 1st and January 15, there are 29 holidays celebrated by 7 major religions. So Christmas is a big one in my life. However, I recognize and acknowledge that there are other holidays that may be big for other people in their lives. And that is not about being politically correct. It is about being empathetic. There is something so important in us to be seen. And when we are not seen, reflected in our society, it can be a painful experience, particularly for children. So I just wanted to say, for those who celebrate Christmas, Merry Christmas. For those who celebrate Hanukkah, Happy Hanukkah. And for those of you who have already celebrated Diwali and other holidays, I just want to say blessings to all of you. So today we are going to talk about 3 tips to stay out of resentment, particularly when life gets busy. As I know for many people that I encounter lately, life is getting busy. We have our work life to do, we have our family life to do, and then we just, when it comes to Christmas time, there's a lot of other events that, and expectations, nostalgia that kind of piles on as well. And I want to talk about 3 things that we can do to stay out of resentment. While this applies to Christmas time, it's really for us any other time. I think nobody really likes it when we're in resentment. And resentment shows up when we say yes to a lot of things when we want to say no. So I'll say that again. Resentment is when we're saying yes, when actually we want to say no. That is a major recipe for resentment. So let's talk about what we can do. Number 1, say no. Just say no. When we can say no, and we're saying no, not because we're trying to be an asshole, when we're saying no because we want to stay out of our resentment, it is a gift to others and it is a gift to ourselves. So if you don't like driving around and looking at Christmas lights, and everyone else thinks that's the best idea ever, but you really don't like it, then say no. You can I give you full permission to say no. And you can say no to say, I really love spending time with you, and I really love colors, and I really love the experience of lights. However, driving around and looking at Christmas lights is not my thing. And I'm trying really hard to stay out of resentment this year. And I don't want to do things that I really don't want to do. So I say, have fun. I will not feel left out. I will be so happy to curl up on the couch and read a book or whatever it is that you want to do instead. But I give you permission to say no to whatever activities drain you. So that's number 1. And also, along with that, for some of us, for some people, we might be in grief. There are people who are losing family members. Perhaps it's an anniversary of losing a family member, and you may not want to engage in all the festivities. And that is okay. Now, I just want to say, if you are doing it to isolate yourself, that's one thing. But if you're doing it because you really want to nurture yourself, and being alone or not engaging in those activities is nurturing to you, then I encourage you to honor what is nurturing to you. And hello, Charlene. It's good to see you too. Thanks for hopping on. And thank you to the other 2 people that are on live. Welcome, welcome. If you leave a comment, then I'll know who you are. Number two, to stay out of resentment is to share the load. Now, what I mean by that is that oftentimes we have a problem of one person. We talked about this earlier this year around carrying the mental load, carrying the emotional load, carrying sometimes the physical load that can happen at this time of year. If you find yourself in resentment because you're writing all the Christmas cards, you're preparing all the meals, you're shopping for all the meals, you're cleaning up after everyone, if you find yourself in this place of resentment where you're feeling like you're doing everything for everyone and getting nothing in return, then that is an indication that you are in resentment, and that one of the things that will be important to do is to share that load. And hello, Tammy. Hi, welcome. Yay. So I wanted to share a really beautiful idea that I heard recently from actually a student at Seattle Life Coach Training. She was talking about how she has a very big family and she's a mother of several children, and people are just used to her being in that mother role. She hosts the holidays and she plans the meals, she prepares the meals, she cleans up after everyone, and everyone in the family is just used to this because that's the way she's always done things. However, she found herself in resentment, and so she came up with a new idea. And I encourage you to, if you like this idea, to tell your family members about it in advance. But what she did is she wrote down all of her chores, all of the little tasks that she does after the meal, during the meal, to prepare for the meal. While people are there, she wrote down all of the little tasks on slips of paper, individual slips of paper, put them in a bowl. And then as her family members and guests arrived, they pulled a task out of the bowl and got to see what their chore was. It was like, oh, sweeping the floor, great. Washing the dishes, excellent. Chopping up the onions, whatever it is. And she said it was super liberating, a little awkward, as it would be anytime anybody instigates change, but that it was so helpful because it kept her out of resentment, and it helped her enjoy being with her family, and it helped share the load, to share that those tasks in a way that was a little playful. And I think what happens is that we sometimes will say, no, it's okay, I've got it. People maybe offer us help, but we can so easily swat it away. But if we're already feeling some resentment, like, I just have to do everything for everyone because nobody notices, then it's an indication that we need to actually receive that help. We need to ask for it and we need to receive it. Because chances are your family, hopefully, is not a group of takers that just want to take from you, but rather are people who do want to help, but maybe don't know how. So if you give them a way to help, and I think throwing all the little chores in a bowl that people can pull is a nice, playful way to do it. And if you give your family members a heads up about it, then it's a way that they can participate, and you can say, I want to continue doing these activities. I want to continue hosting. However, I also want to make sure I'm staying out of my resentment. And so I'm going to ask for help, and I'm going to ask for help in this way. Okay, so that's number 2. Number 3, take breaks. This is another way that we can stay out of resentment. When we go back to being with our families, we can easily fall out of being a 42-year-old woman and fall easily being into a 14-year-old teenager. So when we go back to our families, it's really easy to fall back into those old patterns. And they usually get triggered when we're feeling overwhelmed, when we're feeling upset, when we're feeling in fear, if we're feeling in grief, whatever the anger, frustration, we can easily get triggered into being our teenage selves. And there is something really powerful around taking a break for ourselves so that we can show up as an adult, and we can also show up in a way that keeps us out of our resentment and keeps us appreciating our families. So sometimes it's helpful to have a trusted person that you can call on. Hopefully there's someone in your family, either your chosen family or your family of origin or your partner's family, who you can confide in. And if you can't, if you don't have that person, then I suggest taking a break and stepping away. Again, when we take those moments for ourselves, not in a big huffy puffy blow up way, but rather in I'm going to go for a walk. And we actually leave and go for a walk. It gives us time to process so that our inner teenager can show up and have our little stomping and gnashing of teeth and can you believe this moments. But it also gives us a time to pause and to reflect and to breathe and to find ways to get ourselves back to center so that we can re-encounter things. Now, I know that I'm kind of talking doomsday about Christmas or about gathering with our families. And I know that each of our families likely has gifts that they have given us. And I'm so grateful for the gifts of my family that has given me. But I also recognize that it's not exactly, I have a friend of mine, Corky McDonald, who is a comedian, stand-up comedian, and he talks about this time of year, what's pushed to us is nostalgia porn. And I think there is so much about that there's so much in our society that's giving us this nostalgia porn, that we're supposed to be this hallmarky kind of family. And the fact of the matter is the people we love the most can be the people who can trigger us the most. And so while there are beautiful, wonderful, amazing things about gathering with friends and family, there can also be triggering things that happen. And so I hope these 3 tips of saying no, of sharing the load, and taking breaks can help you during those triggering moments so that you can appreciate and have gratitude and presence for the gifts that happen when we come into gathering. I wish you, and hello, Aussie. Tammy, it is totally a doomsday event at times. Yes, it can be. So I just wish you all the best. If you celebrate Christmas, I wish you all the best next week. I will not be here next Wednesday. And for those of you who are celebrating any of the 29 holidays that are celebrated now, I wish you and your family and yours all the best. May this time to me is always about finding the light in the darkness. It is about finding hope when things seem lost, when things seem dead, as what's happening now in winter. Things are dying and dying down, and yet there is still life, there is still hope, there is still joy. And so I hope for you that my hope for you is that you can find the light in the darkness, no matter how dark it gets. You just need a little spark, and it can lighten up the whole world. I wish you a full 2 weeks of living and learning, and I will see you 2 weeks from now. I believe that will be New Year's Day. Oh, and I've got some stuff for you for January. I can't wait. Thank you all so much for giving me your attention and comments and love in 2019, and I'll see you in 2020. Bye.